F sharp, A sharp, revisited.
Hello everyone and welcome to F Sharp A Sharp Revisited, the music review podcast where we like to review music. I am Joe, aka the music critic supervillain, aka Mojo Jojo, aka the man of many mustards, and with me is Nick, who is an outstanding person.
I think I gave you half of those nicknames.
Probably, yeah.
There's a couple of apologies before we begin. It's a very windy day. My
Yeah.
cat is a nuisance. And you might get some background ambience on this podcast.
Yeah, but think of it as a stylistic touch.
We deliberately brought around the wind for this
Yeah,
one.
yeah, we set out 1,000 fans outside.
So we can breeze through the many albums and things that we have to do on this one. 'Cause
Yes.
This is quite a packed podcast.
Yeah, well, shall we get stuck in then?
Yes, let's get stuck in. Who are we starting with, Joe?
We're starting with Ariana Grande, Pop Princess.
It's a new album, Thank You Next.
Yeah,
Probably a bit late on this one, but what can you do?
well, what are you going to do? Yeah. Well, Ariana Grande really came on my radar a few years back when she released the album Dangerous Woman, which I thought was actually a very good pop record. I really enjoyed it a lot. And she's been releasing some pretty solid pop songs since, but now she's dropped the album Thank You Next after, well, the title track was a bit of a hit. Well, I say a bit of a hit. It was a massive hit, especially in the US.
If you go on Tinder, literally every single girl's Tinder anthem nowadays is that song.
So,
Clearly has resonated with people.
yes.
So this new album is 12 tracks and 41 minutes long. I mean, you called her a pop princess, but we both know the real pop princess is Kyary Pamyu Pamyu.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just get that out of the way.
She's the number one.
This is
But-
quite a different style of pop, but I think that as far as chart pop stars go, I'd say Ariana Grande is very much at the top.
Oh yeah,
Like
Yeah.
compared to a lot of what you get in the UK
the
top
standard,
40 and
yeah.
the standard things that you'll listen to, I actually think that Ariana Grande makes some pretty good music. How much
Hmm.
of that she writes herself, I haven't dared to look because
neither have I. I don't want to ruin it
yeah,
for us. But I'll just start off right off the bat by saying it. I do think it is a little bit of a mixed bag with some of the tracks. I think there are about four tracks that are excellent, and then some that are a bit middling, and then some that are a bit meh. So that's my overall impression of the album. I think one thing she does well in, especially the first track, is mixing trap and pop in a really effective way. The minimalistic textures and beats work really well, and the sounds are really dynamic. And I think it's a great opening track and single for the album.
the backing on the better tracks on the album I think is kind of understated without sounding lazy, which I really like. There is a slightly grainy edge to the production throughout the album, which I think it makes it sound like it's shot in black and white, if that makes sense, which I really dig about it.
Yeah,
There's one exception of the track, which I think isn't so much understated, but sort of walks the line between being emotional and overblown, which is the track Ghostin', which I think is really quite beautiful.
that is probably my favorite track on the album. To describe the track, it does have these kind of very weird sounding synths and lush strings that come in partway through, and it kind of works well with this grainy quality. It does feel both very old-timey but very present at the same
really
time.
sort of there are these psychedelic swells that
Yeah.
are present throughout, and I love the fact that it builds up to the climax and there's really barely anything in the way of percussion in there. I think there's one cymbal roll at one point, but I know that many other artists would have gone for the big pounding percussion coming in at the climax. I'm really glad it doesn't do that.
Yeah,
It's the song where I think Grande is the most emotionally vulnerable on the album, as she
Definitely,
sings
yeah.
about her longing for her. I'm assuming it's her singing about her longing for her dead ex,
Yeah.
Mac Miller, while engaged to Pete Davidson, which is
yeah, it's
some of the lines in that one
so emotional.
so good. But I think that's the one time when I think that the sort of the overstated nature of it, though not really overstated, works. On some of the other songs, I think there's just a bit too much going on, like on Bad Idea. I wasn't particularly fond of. I thought the drum and the weird vocal samples weren't really needed on that one. It just oversteps the mark a bit.
Yeah, there are a couple of tracks where the elements don't quite work together, like in my head. It makes me laugh so much because it is one of the slower songs on the album, a bit more emotional, but a bit more pop. But then you get the trap skirts at the end of
Yeah,
the chorus, and it just seems so weird.
that was
I
weird.
don't get that. Why she thought that was a good idea.
Sort of lyrically and vocally as well. I think some of the other tracks I didn't really like were the ones which were either annoying or boring. And
Yeah, yeah, I get
the
that.
big offenders there. Seven Rings is probably my
Oh yeah,
least favorite track on the album. It's
same.
annoying, it's derivative, the lyrics suck, and it's it's a brag track without any real substance.
Yeah, I mean, some of the lyrics on it, I want it, I got it, I want it, I got it. You like my hair? Gee, thanks, I just bought it. It's very,
Yeah,
it's very shallow and kind of, I don't want to say, well, it's technically indulgent, isn't it? With,
yeah, very much.
yeah,
The other one that I don't really like on the album is "Break Up with Your Girlfriend, I'm
yeah.
Bored," which is good. And it's pretty cheeky, but oh my God, that chorus is so bad.
Yeah, well, I've got a bit of a point to make about that song because the penultimate song on the album, one of the best songs, Thank You Next, is this song about kind of self-growth from previous relationships. And I would have thought that's such a great positive note to end the album on.
I think it's the
But
best
then,
song on the album.
but then you go into this next song, Break Up with Your Girlfriend, I'm Bored, and I'm just like, okay, so you went through all this emotional growth and yet you're still,
Well,
you're a home wrecker still,
here's
and it's like,
here's
what?
something I found quite interesting is that if you watch the music video for that one, the music video implies that it's about her loving herself because the person she's singing to, the boy or whatever, is actually her. So there's two Ariana Grandes in that video. So the video implies it's about her loving herself. But that doesn't come across in the song at all
No,
by
no.
itself.
So I haven't seen that video, but in the song, it just makes me, it just comes across as though, she just wants to break up a relationship because of what she
And
wants.
after some of the things she said on previous songs on the album about her wanting to focus on herself for a while, that just seems like a really weird way to end the
Yeah,
album.
very weird ending.
You can't rely on a music video to get your point across without getting
No.
it through in the song as well. It
Well,
just doesn't
if you're
work.
going to call yourself a music artist, then I do think your point should be in your music as well. But anyway, I think we've focused a bit on the negatives. I just want to say, I think Thank You Next is a fantastic song.
Oh yeah, Thank You Next is wonderful. Thank You
Yeah.
Next is so fun, so catchy. It paints herself more as a strong and independent woman than acting as another brag track, which
Yeah, yeah.
I do like. And it once again, it's got that slightly grainy quality and uses these ethereal synth sounds with very
Yeah,
muted drums to create this sort of angelic persona in Grande's vocals.
yeah.
I adore that.
Yeah, and her voice is pretty angelic when she wants it to be. Well,
Yeah.
a lot of the time, to be honest. I mean, she is a mainstream pop singer, so it kind of goes without saying her voice is fantastic, but I do think her
I
singing
think that
hits
she's
it.
good at actually seeming emotional without relying on the typical chart singing
Yeah,
styles. I
yeah,
think that what she's saying actually comes across as quite genuine. And I mean that's got to I mean it's got to work like that when the lyrics are just very honest throughout the album. Sometimes I mean we've mentioned they're a bit boring.
yeah,
Sometimes it's a bit too personal, like on Bloodline and Bad Idea. And also, I think sometimes she relies too heavily on lyrics that just play on one particular thing to create double meaning, like on NASA and Makeup.
yeah,
But besides that, I think that it's just kind of superior vocally and lyrically.
yeah. I'd have to agree. I will say that I did like Makeup though, but that was more due to the arrangement, the kind of off kilter synths. Just really did it for
Yeah, I
me
didn't
on that
dislike
track. But
Makeup. I just thought that
the
that
lyrics.
theme was a bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can understand that. I think a kind of a weak area in the album for me was kind of in the first half a little bit because I think Imagine was a fantastic opening track. Needy was nice, but then NASA, Bloodline, and Fake Smile was a bit of a lull for me. Didn't really do that much.
Needy's actually the other track that I've noted as a positive as one of my favourites on the album. I think it's emotionally honest in a way, like talking about something that I think a lot of us can relate to.
Yeah,
And something I didn't really notice until listening a few times is that backing repetitive synth note actually gives off the illusion of changing notes when it actually doesn't at all, which I think is a really cool effect.
it's a very dynamic touch.
And, once again, vocal melodies are pretty great.
Yeah. I think I've already said everything I want to say about this album. I think it's a solid pop album
It got a lot to
overall.
get through, so yeah, let's
Yeah,
end it there. I'd give this one a 6 out of 10.
same. 6 out of 10.
Better than I could have hoped for, I think.
Yeah, better than your average pop album.
Going on to something else on the same theme of Better Than I Hoped For, though, maybe not. Little Pump's new album, Harvard Dropout, which is I don't know whether to call it the debut release or the sophomore release by Pump because, the other one was a mixtape and I don't know how it
Yeah.
works. But this is, his second big release, and this one is 16 tracks long, ouch, and it's 40 minutes. This is, in Lil Pump, Gucci Gang, trap artist. Man, this album sucks. But, oh god, I also find myself laughing at how tongue-in-cheek and deliberately
Yeah.
dumb it is every single time. I
Okay.
hate myself for liking this
Okay,
album.
don't hate yourself too much because I'll tell you what, I kind of enjoyed the first 4 tracks on this album until until it's the same lyrics over and over again.
It's
in
exactly the same for me. On my notes, I've got my notes are very stream of consciousness for this one because I mean there are no tracks where the beats are worth talking about. They're all either annoying or boring, in fact. But the lyrics and vocal performances, especially on those first 4 tracks, you got Harvard dropout,
Yeah.
dropped out, used to go to Harvard off a bar, dropped out, now I'm richer than your mom.
Yeah, it's as kind of as kind of scummy as it is. The sense of humor does come
Yeah.
through, especially at the end, and he's like, "Don't forget to stay in school, kids."
Yeah, and then the second track you've got Nuh-uh, which is don't talk to me, nuh-uh, don't stare at me, nuh-uh, yeah, I done glowed up, then I fucked your bitch, It's just so straight. And then you've got
Yeah.
the classic, which we talked about on our sort of best of last year, which is I Love
Yeah.
It, with Kanye West, which is so dumb. I don't
Yeah.
need you, I don't need school, I pop beans, I don't eat food.
Yeah,
It's so dumb.
One thing I will add now is I know you said none of the beats are worth talking about, but I do think in these first 4 tracks there is quite a bit of variety. The first track has about that kind of rising synth, which is quite eerie but quite fun at the same time. The second track has this quite dark, abrasive synth, and then I Love It has this bounciness to it
Yeah.
as well. And kind of within the first few tracks, I'm getting this sense of variety as well, which I'm like, oh, this is pretty good for trap at least. And I do think I Love It benefits so much from that kind of humorous tone to it.
And then you've got Ion, which is also kind of, I mean, it's not going to reinvent the wheel, is it? But
No.
this album isn't Kendrick Lamar, is it? This album is
No.
dumb bangers that you put on at a party and you just have a good time.
Yeah.
And on Ion, you've got the line, Perp getting money like a Jew. Oh my
Oh,
god,
dear.
that's so distasteful.
Yeah, I mean, as a trap artist, there's plenty of distasteful because I've got some lyrics written down for some of the tracks later on in the album.
Well, I mean, after the first 4 tracks, the next thing I've got written is the album gets really shit for the next 6 tracks, and I don't
Yeah.
really want to talk about them, especially because the track with Quavo on is the hottest garbage I've heard so far this year.
Too Much Ice is the name of that track, and my note on that song is I've already heard this song, this album, and also Quavo's on it.
Yeah, Quavo makes everything worse. I don't know how. Literally everything I've ever heard with Quavo on, I've just not liked.
I know, it's kind of ridiculous.
And I think I've only actually ever heard one song which is an original Quavo song. Every other song I think I've heard he's just been featured on, and those songs have all been trash.
I don't understand how he gets around. It's like some kind of STD. Anyway, sorry. But yeah, I do kind of want to read out some of these lyrics. One from For Show, which, honestly, the lyrics really tried me on that track. Call up them bitches for show. Straight bitches coming for show. Don't pay for pussy for show. No, I don't want her. She ugly and broke. And
Oh god.
I just sit there with my head in my hands, just thinking, what?
Because I mean, like as much as I say this album is dumb and makes me laugh, it also gives me a headache to listen to because it's that consistently for 16 tracks. I won't even make note of the fact it's 40 minutes, which I think is a good album length because it's 16 tracks and that's a slog.
Yeah, and then some of the beats really annoyed me towards the end of the album as well, like Stripper Name. Imagine listening to that for 2.5 minutes, and I don't know a bitch, but I know a stripper name. I don't know a bitch, but I know a stripper name. I don't know a bitch, but I
Let's
know.
say though that there are quite a few tracks towards the end of the album that I do actually quite like. Vroom
Go
Vroom
on.
Vroom, I think starts the
Oh
trend of tracks being
no.
really fucking dumb, but in a funny way again. It's so stupid.
Oh, it's just for like 2.5 minutes of vroom 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 vroom.
That's funny. And then
Yeah.
you've got Be Like Me, which is actually ridiculously catchy and fun, and I can kind of forgive it being a brag track because I can just laugh at it.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that's fine.
Little Wayne is also Little Wayne is hilariously bad, but it just works so well in the context of the track.
Yeah, okay, fair, fair
I'm
enough.
going to stop talking about this album now before I lose all credibility.
Okay, I mean, I do give it some credit. I give it credit for, attempt at diversity. The humor does come through on quite a few tracks, so I'll give it that.
I think I'd give it a 4 out of 10.
Yeah, same to be
It's
honest.
an album that I want to hate more than I
Yeah,
do,
I want to
honestly.
give it like a 3, but it's a 4.
It is a 4.
It's a 4.
So that was quick. Let's stop talking about Little Pump now. Let's move on to something a bit more difficult to listen to.
Question mark.
Question mark, because Little Pump is actually pretty difficult to listen to. Let's talk about modern prog rock / stoner rock from the band
Yes.
Motorcycle with their Motorpsycho. I just want to make that clear. It's not motorcycle as I kept finding myself calling it. Motorpsycho, the Crucible,
Motorpsycho.
which
Yes.
is a grand total of, well, it's about 5 times less tracks than Little Pump.
Yep.
3 tracks, 40 minutes, same length,
Yeah.
less tracks. The way I'd describe this is King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard meets Black Sabbath with touches of Yes.
Okay. Oh, see, I see your description. I raise you in my notes. There's a strong influence of both Black Sabbath and King Crimson on this record. So, I will say, I do think the influences do come quite strong on this album, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I do think they honour their influences very well on this album. One thing I do want to say, maybe I can get you to do a guessing game. One track on this is quite possibly my favourite track of the
Luxa
year.
Turner,
Okay, yeah.
because it's the best track on the album.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. That was easy, that was quick.
I mean, let's talk about that one, because I mean,
Yeah.
it's only 3 tracks, so it's kind of difficult to talk about it without highlighting those
Yeah.
tracks individually. So Lux Eterno, easily the best track on the album.
Oh, it is. It is lush from start to finish. You've got the opening acoustic guitars, which are very melancholic. The vocals come on as well, pretty good.
Yeah, the
They-
vocal harmonies are very nice in the quieter parts, and then you've got the sort of quote unquote chorus, which sounds really triumphant, and it's really great with the surprising inclusion of clarinets.
Yeah, you got the clarinets doubling the kind of proggy guitar riff, and then you got the mellotron on as well, and that's when I was getting the
Oh,
very
Mellotron's
strong King
good.
Crimson vibes. I was thinking this sounds like it was inspired from Red, like pretty easily, but it was
Yeah.
so gorgeous and it's so well
I
composed.
looked at the lyrics, and the lyrics are about death, and they're actually pretty
Yeah.
good, and they're not standout, but they're perfectly adequate.
Yeah.
And I think that it spins a really nice sort of take on death,
Yeah, I'd agree.
kind of positive in a way, which is
A bit weird to
bit
say,
weird to
but
say, but you'd understand
it works.
Yeah.
It works if you understand metal. But
Yeah. So anyway, let's talk about the main meat of this track, which is the instrumental section that comes about halfway through with the dissonant guitar parts.
oh, the scratchy guitar parts
Oh,
that come in with the distorted bass. Of course, there is distorted bass on this track.
They
Oh,
slap. They slap hard.
Oh, they slap me in the face,
Yeah,
silly. Oh,
the drum and bass interplay on this track is really great. And
the drums are freaking
oh
fantastic.
yeah, I was about to get to that. Like, the drums, I think, are the best thing about this album. Like, I'd say even better than the guitar parts. I think the drums
yeah.
on this are ridiculously
But
good.
it's the drums, well, specifically on Lux Eterna as well. On the choruses, you've got these constant rolls
Yeah.
that just bubble underneath this grand symphonic texture. I'm just like, yes, it's so good.
His name eludes me, but clearly taken great inspiration from the drummer of Jethro Tull, I think.
Yeah, I can see that.
There's very similar stylings in there. Like the drum and bass interplay, anyway, they provide suitable support for such amazing guitar solos. It reminds me of parts of Close to the Edge by Yes on it.
Yeah, it gets very noodly in those guitar sections, but even in the wind down sections, the guitar is just great.
Yeah.
It's
We're,
okay
we're,
symbol.
yeah, we're both putting the OK symbol up.
Yes.
Let's talk about the other two tracks then.
Yes.
Because I mean that one's 10 minutes long. The first track is actually called Psycho Thar and is 8 minutes long. And I mean it's quite easy to digest. It leans sort of more towards the sort of stoner rock
Yeah.
genre than the prog sort of side of it. And it's easy to digest.
Chunky
good
riffs,
good
yeah.
chunky guitars and solos, and it fills the 8 minutes pretty well. The vocals are arguably the best on this track for me, as they fit with the sound so well. The lyrics I thought were a bit, yes, it just seemed to be aimed at tyrants like Trump.
They're
and
very We Live in a Society metal lyrics, I thought, in
yeah.
that track.
I mean, they're fine, but they're really not
They service
special.
it. They service the track, but But I do want to point out nice use of 5 time in when it gets to 5 minutes in.
Yeah.
That made me smile.
And then you've got the final track, which is the Crucible, which is the big 20-minute
Yeah.
epic. And I mean,
I actually think it's the weakest
I think it's
track.
the weakest track on the album,
Unfortunately.
sadly. I mean, once again, anti-war lyrics, which are sort of great by themselves, but get lost in the song. I think they don't really add up with the backing all that much. And the ideas don't always flow together in really exciting ways.
Yeah.
Like, not enough to like fill the... Like, when I think of any sort of modern song from this genre that is about, over 12 minutes long, I think of Celestial Elixir by Haken,
Yeah.
which I
Haken,
think
yeah.
is the real pinnacle of sort of that length of song in the genre. And when I think of that song, I think about how it keeps me engaged for the full 20
Yeah.
minutes or so, how every bit of it's exciting, and how there are bits of it that I can even sing along to that are catchy.
Yeah.
I'm always like, I'd be on the edge of my seat if I was sitting down.
Yeah.
Whereas this, it's just,
Yeah.
there's a bit of a disconnect between the passages.
I'm going to have to agree, and I say this as someone who everyone knows I love prog. If 20-minute songs, I'm all down for that. But I do feel like some of the sections just get a bit redundant. Really, it kind of comes across as a bit kind of riff section after riff section. Then there's a bit where there's kind of this distorted synth section under a guitar riff, and it all doesn't really flow in a way that's particularly satisfying.
Yeah.
There's no real journey, and I often find myself getting towards the last stretch of the piece thinking, well, there hasn't been any climaxes, any particular moments of notes, but then I do think it brings the track back in the last kind of 5 minutes or so. I do think it ends well.
I don't think it ends well. I think it ends far too abruptly.
Okay.
And the ending is nice in tone, but it doesn't really fit with the lyrics in that sense. I think the lyrics are kind of a bit bleaker on this track, so the way the song ends is a bit...
Yeah, I mean, the instrumentation, it kind of swells
I
up
mean,
in its lush.
I guess at the end of
Yeah.
the day, I find I don't really feel the lyrics when I'm listening to the song anyway without reading along to them, so that doesn't matter to me that much, I guess. But once again, the drums, so good on the track.
The drums, though.
Really complex to fit with the time signatures, and the great use of accents and speed on the rolls.
Yeah.
And I think that the guitar parts, once again, good. Not as good as on Lux Eterna, but, still
Yeah.
kind of exciting. Maybe they repeat their phrases a little too much, but
Yeah.
it's still admirable.
Yeah.
And that's 40 minutes. 3 tracks, 40 minutes.
I'd agree, yeah.
I'd give it... I've been debating whether to give it a 6 or a 7. I'd probably give it a 7.
I'd give it a 7.
Because Lux Eterna is really special.
Lux Eterna is so good. The first 2 tracks are both really good. The Crucible, I mean, it's not a bad track.
No.
It just needed that. It needed to be tweaked.
It probably could have been half the length.
Yeah, perhaps, yeah. So, yeah, still a good album. Definitely would recommend to, modern prog fans. Definitely check it out.
Well, it's it's very impressive coming from a band that have made God knows how many albums since the 80s.
I know. They're one of those bands that I kind of think, oh, they've dropped a new record. Is it even worth listening to it?
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I did listen to it.
Yeah, it's definitely good. And one of my favourite tracks of the year is from it. So, yeah.
Happy Joe.
Happy me.
Well, we're going to take a slight break from reviewing albums now,
Ooh.
and we're going to have a quiz.
Yay!
It's quiz time. We haven't had a quiz for a while.
Ooh.
So you may remember last year if you listened to our podcast. If you don't, I will explain this to you. We've done a quiz before where I take songs that Joe likes and I make them sound terrible, and Joe has to guess what the songs are.
Oh, I'm going to enjoy
And
this.
Joe managed to get over half of them right last time, which meant I had to cover Tim Bowness, I think it was that
Yes.
time round.
Yeah.
I think that was quite a good cover.
Yeah.
So
Good
anyway.
cover, yeah.
Yeah, so I've got another one lined up for Joe. There are 7 tracks this time, so we're going to say if you get 4 right, I cover a song. If you get 4 wrong,
I cover a song, yes.
and we'll see how it goes.
Yes.
Now, I think this one might actually be harder than the last one, but we'll have to see. I might underestimate you.
Okay.
I'd also like to point out that I've recently invested in Melodyne, which is a pitch correction software, which means that I have been able to do so much damage to some of these tracks.
Oh, no.
I am very excited to hear what you think of them.
Okay.
So, as last time, just to make sure we don't disrupt the flow, if you could put your hand up when you think you've got it, and I will pause the track, and
Okay.
we can see if we can work it out. There are 7, and this is number 1.
Oh, I definitely know this song, but now I just can't place it.
Any thoughts? You have 10 seconds.
Oh, it does sound.
10,
It sounded Japanese, like the Japanese noise rock
7,
scene, but I'm.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Joe has his
No.
head in his hands.
No, I can't. No.
That was the guitar solo from LA Girls by Weezer.
Ah.
And that was an example of me using Melodyne to make it sound
Wow.
awful. Did you like that, Joe? Did you like that? I played it to my sister at least twice, and both times she's just had her head in her hands.
That's interesting. So completely distorted Weezer sounds like Japanese noise rock.
It wasn't particularly distorted. I just.
Oh no, it was just completely out of tune.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's move on to
that's
the
1-0 to Nick.
Let's move on to the second one. I've also tested some of these out on my dad, and this is one of the ones that he wasn't able to get.
Okay.
I wonder if you will be able to. I will give you a hint on this one. Listen for the vocal melody.
See, I got nothing from the vocal melody.
How about this? I'll play it to you one more time, and I'll let you hold the speaker so you get
Okay.
a better ear for it.
Okay.
You give up?
I can't. Thing is, I was really enjoying that, but I still couldn't pick out the vocal melody. It does sound something.
In and around the lake.
No, it is not roundabout.
Mountains come out
It is
of the
not
sky and they
roundabout.
stand there.
Play that again. That is not roundabout.
That is 100% roundabout by Yes. Playing it one more time for you. Oh, Joe, you look
dear.
quite ashamed of yourself.
I still I don't know. I think I'm going to lose this quiz.
Well, that's 2 out of 7. You've still got opportunity.
I can still redeem myself.
Okay, the next one. I'm going to let you hold them because you're the one who needs to listen to them. But the next one, I think, is another one where you have to listen for the vocal melody. The next one is quite possibly the hardest, but we'll see. Would you like another hint?
Go on then.
That was from one of your favourite songs of 2017.
It's not If You're Here, is it? No, it's not.
No, it's not If You're Here. It is This Quiet Earth, Voyager. What was the name of the track again? Now that I've forgotten it.
It is This Quiet Earth.
Just
bracket 1971.
I thought you would get the bit where you went, and I've never felt so alien.
No, I couldn't get. I couldn't get that.
Well, let's move on to the next one. You need to get the next 4 right.
3 down. Yes, Necro got the gun. That's the Skin Thief.
It is the Skin Thief. I do think that might be the easiest one.
Yeah.
But I thought you might get that. That's my favourite bit from the Skin Thief, where he sings about Mother Nature gave me clothes, then I froze to death. Now I make clothes from skin.
It's so morbid.
It's great, is what you mean.
Oh, I mean both.
Right, you've got 1 right. Still need to get the next few right.
1 to 3. Go on.
If I remember correctly, the next one is one that you will either get extremely easily or one that you will hate me for butchering in such a way.
Okay, let's go.
Any thoughts?
Was that Filthy?
No, but you are close.
Oh,
it's not by the same artist, but same sound. It came out last year, towards the end of last year. Play you a bit more of it.
Oh, it's it's Muse with Propaganda.
That is correct. I don't imagine any of that will come through on the speaker, so I might have to insert the track itself there because, oh god, that vocal melody is very difficult to pick out amongst all that fuzz.
It's like it's like you made everything sound like the Propaganda hook.
Right.
Oh,
that wasn't the one that I thought it was the one that I butchered that you would hate me for, by the way.
Okay.
That's the next one.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So
here we go.
How many have you got now? 2?
Two against your 3.
Okay. Actually, I think there's 3 more. So
okay. I mean, we'll just keep going and
we'll keep going.
see what happens.
Any thoughts? That one is exclusively pitch corrected. There are no other effects on it. I say exclusively pitch corrected. Melodyne also gives you the option to delete and extend the duration of notes.
I mean, at first I thought it might be Seagull by Edge Raiders
Ding,
Music.
ding, ding.
Was it?
It was.
Oh. Wow, I'm making a comeback.
Okay.
I am so shocked that I got that.
Yeah,
Wow.
Don't you just hate me for what I did to it?
Oh, it was, to be honest, I kind of enjoyed it. But so
Well,
we're 3-3.
The next one is one that I've played to both my mom and my dad, and neither of them got it, though I think this might be the easiest one.
Okay.
So here we go. Any thoughts?
No, I can't. No, I can't get it.
Well, that means you have to get the next one right. But that was the Village Green Preservation Society by the Kinks.
Oh.
Sorry, couldn't resist. You'll be able to hear the vocal melody when it comes in. I will sing it along to help you. We are the Village Green Preservation Society. God save Donald Duck, Lord Bill and Writing. We are the Desperate Dad Appreciation Society. God save.
Wow.
Clearly, I'm the only one that hears the vocal melody. Well, the next one is the one that my dad managed to get right.
Okay.
I reckon you'll probably get it right as well, and I'll end up covering a song. Here we
Okay,
go.
let's see.
Final song. I am utterly shocked, Joe. My dad managed to get that within.
I know what it is. I know what it is, but the name of it is. Give me like.
You have 10 seconds. 8, 7.
I listened to this the other day.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It was Peaches on Regalia
Yes,
by
it
Frank
is.
Zappa.
Yes, it is.
Well done, Joe. You have to cover a song.
Of course. Yeah. I absolutely knew that, but it just wasn't coming to me what it was. But yeah, GG.
But you did very well to get as many as you did, because I thought that was especially hard.
Well, I didn't. I got 3, so I didn't embarrass myself too much.
You very almost got 4.
Almost. Peaches and Regalia. I did listen to that the other week as well. Oh.
I can't believe my dad managed to get it so quickly. It was literally 5 seconds and he went, Frank Zappa.
It's that kind of. It sounds like a car horn. Beep 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 beep.
Yeah. And anyway, that is Frank Zappa's Peaches in Regalia.
First song from his debut album.
Yeah, reversed, and I believe it added a load of the high frequencies. I boosted them. So I need to think of a song for you to cover now. I haven't even considered it because I was certain that you would be able to get them, but oh well, that's just another task for me. Also, I really hope that came through okay for you guys at home, because that might have been a bit.
It might have been a bit
distorted.
Well, that was the point.
I can't imagine listening to that version of Propaganda by Muse was fun for anyone. So I'm sorry. Well, let's move on to talking about albums again. We have got a sophomore release now from an artist called Thelma, who is actually a woman called Natasha Jacobs. And this is her second album, The Only Thing, which is 9 tracks and 31 minutes long. So quite short.
Short album.
Yeah.
And every song is under 4 minutes long as well.
Yeah, so it's quite breezy in that sense. I think the most impressive thing about this album is the conditions it was made under. I don't know if you looked into it at all, Natasha Jacobs, shortly after releasing her debut album, was diagnosed with, I can't pronounce it well, so Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which affects her joints. They dislocate quite easily, meaning that the spindly guitar parts that populate her debut album and parts of this album were probably super difficult to make. Not only that, it was discovered close to the same time that she had thyroid cancer, meaning she had to try and explore new vocal possibilities within her capabilities. So this album must have been really difficult to make.
Yeah, I'd imagine a lot of artists would be like, no.
But that comes through a
Yeah.
lot on this album, I think. A lot of the lyrics, I think, are very personal, coming to terms with her disability and ways of confronting or combating the pain it must cause her.
Yeah, since you just said that, I immediately thinking of thought of the song "No Dancing Allowed."
Yeah, exactly. That's probably the biggest one for that. I also think that it's quite fitting with the compositions, which are kind of disjointed and very...
Okay, this is one part of the composition I loved pretty much throughout the album. She uses a lot of odd phrasing with her rhythms and melodies,
Yeah.
and it's so distinctive, and you don't hear it a lot in music, period, even in some of the more mathematical or progressive sounds, and to have it in quite a lot of the arrangements are moderately paced as well, so to hear it in that context as well, I thought was lovely.
Yep.
Sorry,
I agree.
yeah.
I think that not only are the rhythms used to great effect, but the unconventional melodic patterns that go along with it are all,
Yeah.
well, I mean, generally pretty great, especially through her vocals.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that she's gone through so much and is producing vocals like that is
Yeah.
incredibly
Her vocals are
impressive.
great throughout, and she even adds in quirks as well. There are a couple of squeaks and
Yeah, especially that
Yeah.
"Take Me to Orlando" is the one
Yeah.
with the biggest squeak, and
Yeah.
it comes quite early. So if you want an example, listen to that track. Her voice kind of reminds me of what's her name from Hop Along mixed with Kate Bush, I think, to an extent.
I can see that.
Yeah,
I can
that's
see
the
that.
closest I
Yeah.
could get because it's very, very distinct, and I can't think of anything quite like it. Talking about things not being conventional, though, I do think that sometimes that can be a little bit alienating on the album. I mean, it's certainly not one that I reckon, say, my brother or my sister would enjoy listening to.
Yeah. This is it's quirky music, and I think you need to be able to enjoy quirky music to kind of get into this album.
Yeah. As well as that, I don't think there's a great deal of tonal variety throughout the album, meaning that it can be hard to stay engaged for the full
Yeah.
length, even though it's only 31 minutes.
See, I think the length was about right, and
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that it works being 31 minutes because of that.
Yeah, and I see what you mean about the tonal variety. You get your keyboards and your guitars, and that's kind of about it. I mean, there are a couple of tracks that kind of go off in different directions, like Warm Guts, which has a bit more of an abrasive sound, some kind of like post-rock strings going on as well, which was very nice.
Yeah, I really like Warm Guts. It's
Yeah.
one of my favourites. I love the lines on that. Come as you are, and my truest face still waits for you, because building a personal support system is important, yo.
Yeah, and there are quite a lot of very lovely lyrics. I mean, my favorite for lyrics was Chosen Ones. That gets my heart.
Oh, Chosen Ones is an amazing finisher on the album. I
It
love
gets my heart.
it's such a great line.
Yeah, because every child needs someone who cares, because they may hate themselves, they may blame themselves. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, the
Yeah.
lyrics about nurturing your inner child and self-care is something I think we could all learn from.
Yeah,
And also
definitely.
just the opening minor chord into the choruses is just such a great transition from the sort of more upbeat nature of the rest of the track.
Yeah.
It's so sort of brooding. I like it.
Yeah. I don't think there's a bad track on this album. I do think there are songs where they're just not as engaging as others, I would say.
I agree. I think that comes with the tracks Stephen and 'cause I
Never
didn't write it
Complain.
down, Never Complain. I think those two are a tiny bit of a lull on the album, but I mean they're still
Yeah.
decent tracks. They're not
decent,
bad.
yeah,
I just don't think
certainly.
they're as good as the other ones.
Yeah, and then it goes into Solitaire, which just makes me it kind of makes me laugh. Dinner will get overcooked. All I can do is complain because he never learned how to cook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like how the build up on that one towards the end sort of teeters on the verge of breaking, but never does, which I think sort of fits with the narrative she's drawing in the lyrics.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I'd like to just thank Spotify quickly for bringing this up in my what was it, weekly
Yeah.
Discover Weekly mix. Thank you,
Really?
because I didn't
Wow.
expect to find anything like this in there, and I really enjoy this album.
Let's
Like,
give a big thumbs up to Spotify
I feel
for
like
that
we've
one,
talked
then.
about a fair few of the negative points on this album. I don't think that they're really all that negative in the grand scheme of things, because I think there's so much that's great on this album.
Yeah.
I think like we've already mentioned, the compositions are brilliant, her vocals are brilliant, the lyrics are, above average at the very least.
Yeah.
And I kind of just wanted to release another album now so I can listen to more. I think she's done an incredible job considering what she's been working with.
Yeah. Yeah. I think. Yeah. I agree. I agree.
As to talk about another of my couple of my favorite tracks, "Stranger Love," the opening track, I think
Yeah.
is that's the one that I actually heard through Spotify, and it's great at easing you into what you're about to experience on the album. It's sort of strangely catchy as it can be, with such strange rhythms. It's endearing, and it's a brilliant showcase for Natasha Jacobs' vocals.
Yeah, and I like how it's a song about kind of being in love with someone who you can't be with. James Blunt, take notes. So, so,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think that is another one of my favourite tracks from the album, along with Warm Guts and the closing two tracks. So yeah, definitely.
And there are so many just like I said, that there are a lot of catchy points on the album, which is
Yeah.
it's really miraculous considering how it sounds. Like I find myself humming to myself from the track Sway, just the laughter makes my ribs get sore. Ooh. I've been debating whether to give this a 7 or an 8 out of 10. For now, it's sticking as a 7, but I think it could go up with repeated listens.
Yeah, I'm on a 7 for this one.
Uh,
I very much like this album.
I think of the albums we're talking, it's no spoilers considering the next album we're going to talk about. I'd probably give this my album of the podcast award.
Yeah, yeah. I probably would, maybe tied with Motorpsycho, but yeah, both 7s. So both good listens. Get listening to them.
Moving on, we got one more, just one more. And originally we were going to do this podcast last week, but unfortunately Joe was poorly. Poor Joe.
Poor me.
Poor Joe. So we're not going to talk about this one too much. It only came out on the Friday before the podcast, so we only got 2 chances to listen to it. I know we've had more chances to listen since then, but this podcast is a bit stuffed anyway. So
Yeah.
Weezer's new album,
The Black Album.
or more like the Grey Album, because this album does not live up to what it promised.
No. In fact, when I first listened to the album, I liked what I was hearing, but then after a couple of tracks, it just wasn't.
The first 3 tracks I really like. The tracks later on, the Byzantine, I quite like.
I didn't.
I think it's, I don't think it's good, but I kind of like it. The Prince Who Wanted Everything is another song which I think is crap, but, catchy. And besides that, I think all the rest of the songs are either terrible or unmemorable.
Okay, aside from the first 3 tracks, the only one that I kind of liked was "I'm Just Being Honest." I thought, even though the performance is completely and utterly non-committal and boring and bland, and the arrangement is bad, I did get some humour out of the lyrics.
Well, before we tear into it too much, let's talk about the good tracks, which are
yeah.
first 3 tracks.
Yeah,
So, Can't Knock the Hustle, the first track on it is catchy, it's
funky and
sleazy,
fresh.
the vocals are boring as sin in the verses, but ultimately the instrumentation is good
Yeah.
enough that I don't really care.
Oh, the bass licks are pretty nice as well.
Yeah.
Perfect for
you
pop
got
rock.
the chorus, Can't knock the hustle.
Yeah.
It's great. And then you've got a nice little refrain sung in Spanish.
Yeah.
Why not?
And then sense of humour as well, selling lemonade by the side of the road. leave a 5-star review and I'll leave you one too. Can't knock the hustle. It's so corny, but it works because they know it.
Following that up, you've got Zombie Bastards, which is
Die, you zombie bastards.
It's fun. It would be awful if it wasn't for Rivers' trademark super uncool lyrics and vocals.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds like Weezer doing a Jason Mraz song. But it's it's just that
It's
refrain of "Die Die You Zombie Bastards" that makes it work, I think.
Yeah, it's fun and catchy as hell, and I'm probably going to be singing that over the next
Yeah.
year, to be honest.
And then you've got which the best song on the album, I think, in my opinion, which is "High as a Kite," which is I think a
Yeah,
genuinely great song.
yeah, got a bit of Beatles influence going on in High as a Kite with the piano, and very very striking vocal performance. I thought actually
Yeah,
in the
it's
chorus.
you don't expect that from Rivers Cuomo. You don't remember that he can do that, but it's actually a genuinely quite emotional song.
Yeah,
I like it.
and then you get to Living in L.A.
And we're going to move on from this
No,
album.
because I have some things to say. Like in the Pacific Daydream, they did this kind of like modern pop twist on their sound. It was completely awful. And they go back to it on this track. They have this weird, annoying vocal sample in the intro. You've got this completely cliched arrangement. And can I
love
just
how
note
the lyrics.
the lyrics are, I'm going to read out these lyrics because they are straight up bad. I have no idea what Rivers is saying here. We're fortune's fools when we took the bait. We sacrifice our lives for rock and roll. Je ne sais pas, burning at the stake. We never really had a choice at all. I wonder what it's like out there, and my eyes are too far away spaceships. You are sealed up. You're a sealed up door, and there's got to be more to our lives than this. And I'm just like, what are you saying? What are you saying, man?
I do think that Rivers has always been more of a pop songwriter than a rock writer.
Yeah, yeah.
So I guess with the whole we sacrificed our lives for rock and roll thing, that could be him saying, "Oh, I was never about that," which is a pity because that's what he does best. Blue Album, Pinkerton, White Album. Those are the best albums by
Yes.
Weezer.
Yeah, so
But yeah, that's a song about how he he likes a girl and he's living in LA. Great.
it's so yeah. Ugh.
Piece of Cake. Piece of Cake is the next track, and Piece of
Do,
Cake
do,
is
do, do,
the
do, do, do.
stupidest song I think Weezer
Yeah.
have ever written. She cut me like a piece of cake. She cut me like a piece of cake.
Do 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 do.
It's awful. It's genuinely maybe the worst song that I've ever heard them make.
Okay, I will give it credit. I can actually tell what the song is about, which I couldn't tell with some of the lyrics in some of the other tracks. But oh dear.
I'll save time and just say that I'm just being honest. Too many thoughts in my head. And California Snow, I just don't remember. And I've listened to this album many times.
I've given it 4, 5 listens, and it's not sticking with me. I mean, the Prince Who Wanted Everything has stuck with me, but that's because I just don't like it at all.
I just think it's goofy. The lyrics suck, and the composition sucks, and a lot of it sucks. But I had a fun time listening to it.
I mean, the opening line is, "There was once a prince who made funk rock riffs," and I'm just like, you did Prince dirty with this song, didn't you? You did him dirty with this song.
And then
Nah.
Byzantine, I like, I don't think it's a good song, but then again, I don't think half the songs on this album are good songs. I just think it's kind of endearing and catchy, which is kind of
Okay.
as much as you can hope for from Weezer nowadays.
True.
Not much else to say.
I'm going to just put a 4 out of 10 on this one, and
I think I liked it a bit more than you, so I'm going to give it a 5.
fair enough.
But it's
fair enough.
closer to a 4 than a 6.
Yeah. I'll take the tracks that I liked and just just get on with my life.
What a disappointment. Weezer, please, just give us what we want. You can't release the White Album and then go, oh, the Black Album's going to come and that's going to be, tonally, Black
Yeah.
Album. It's going to be, but we're going to release Pacific Daydream first, and that's where we're going to get all of
Yeah.
the shit out of the way. Then we're going to release the worst album of the year with the Teal Album. But then we're going to give you the Black Album. We promise you it's going to be good. It's not. It's not.
Well, they've released all these albums in pretty quick succession. Maybe they just need to take a few years and...
But then Weezer wouldn't be in the spotlight. I don't know. Actually, how have Weezer managed to stay so relevant for so long?
But are they, though? I mean,
we're still talking about them, aren't they?
we're still talking about them. That's because they released the Damn White album.
I don't get it. I don't get
Oh.
it. How 1994 they released the Blue Album, and now it's 25 years later, and we're still talking about them like it's the biggest release of this podcast. I don't get it. I wish they would fade out of relevancy.
That would be good. That would be good.
I'm actually feeling kind of sad now.
We've ended this podcast on quite a low note.
Oh
dear.
I'm going to go and listen to the White Album. Maybe it's symbolic in a way that I chose to butcher a song from the White Album and then talk about how Weezer have butchered their sound
Yeah.
in the Black Album.
Nice one, Nick. We're just sad now.
Yeah, I don't know how to end this on a cheery note.
Okay, do we want to do shout-outs of things that we thought we liked, maybe?
Yeah, that's a good idea. It's not the end of the podcast until we make it happy again by talking about things that we like.
Okay, well, let me just say some albums I didn't like first.
Joe. Joe.
I listened to the new Avril Lavigne album.
Why did you do that?
Because sometimes I like to torture myself. And also, I need to build up a repertoire of torture music for other people, you know. Music critic, supervillain and all that. So Head Above Water was not a good album. That's all I'm going to say about it. There's very little to say about it. And then I also discovered a new Japanese band. And I quite like a lot of Japanese music, but I didn't know that Japan had their own Imagine Dragons. And it's not good at all. Band called One OK Rock. Their new album, Eye of the Storm. Listen to it if you do want to just scratch your hair out.
I haven't listened to anywhere near as many albums this month as last month, but I have still listened to 25 albums this month, which
Pretty
I'd
good,
say is
yeah.
a decent amount. So, things that I didn't like from this month, let's have a look. The new album by Drag Me Out, which is called Pressure. It's pop metal, it's dull, there's very little variation between the tracks and no good ideas to start with. Then you've also got... But there weren't too many bad albums this month, I don't think. Not too many. Wicker Face brings Eternal, new album Suffer On is sad and whiny, the album. Some people seem to really like it. It's really brooding acoustic guitar with trap beats.
Ugh.
Yeah, and whiny lyrics. Don't go and listen to it, it's not very good. As for things I liked, I've given quite a few sevens. Let's see. Thank You by Black Dresses is a noise rock album. It's really exciting, catchy, and the lyrics are mostly good. You've got Copeland's new album, Blushing, which is quite a few sort of genres in that one, I'd say. It's got a great atmosphere and the dense composition is lovely, but it's a bit too long for me to give it any higher. The new Cara Nia album, 3/4, is probably my favourite album of the past month. I'd give that an 8. That's a black metal album, which I think is really exciting and also quite moving and riffs hard.
Ooh.
Sour's new album, Sour, Forgotten Paths, black metal, Irish inspiration, I think, quite folky, atmospheric, engaging. Default Gender's new album, Main Pop Girl 2019, is a lovely electronic album that sounds kind of like Aphex Twin meets the Postal Service, which I'm quite happy about because I like both of them. And the only other thing I want to mention is an album I listened to this month, which came out last month. I say this month, I mean February. We are recording this in March. My favourite album of the year, in fact, is the new album by the Young Guns, which is called The Ballad of Johnny Longstaff, which came out in January and is a folk album and is moving and hilarious and some of the best storytelling I can think of. And I'm smiling. That's my good way of ending the podcast.
Yeah. I'm going to show myself up here and say that I really enjoyed the new albums by Rimden, James Yorkston and Drenge, but I just haven't written down what those albums are called.
Oh, Joe.
But go search them artists. Good music.
Classic Joe. And one other thing I'd like to quickly shout out is that the Tiger Lilies had a new live album out.
Yes.
And I listened to it and I thought, I wonder if they're coming to Birmingham anytime soon. And they are. And Joe and I are going to go and see the Tiger Lilies.
Oh, I am very, very excited for that.
I am very, very, very excited for that.
Yeah.
So February has been a pretty good month. We've just chosen not to talk about all of the good things from it.
Yeah. We have to highlight the bad as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So we will see you in a few weeks' time. Not sure how many weeks. We need to sort that out because of the fact this podcast has come a week later than it should have done. I will decide what song.
Do I have to cover an album now?
Joe has to cover an XXXTentacion album because that's about as long as a single song from any other artist.
True.
No, we'll decide what song Joe has to cover next podcast. But for now, I have been Nick.
I have been Joe.
And you've been listening to F Sharp, A Sharp Revisited.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. F Sharp, A Sharp Revisited.